Camera rolling, lights, we're good to go. So this is an honest review of Land and Sea, but you'll probably already have guessed I'm a bit of a fanboy. However, before I start, I want to make one thing clear. All the products that were installed, I paid for. I think I got a little bit of discount, and I mean a little. That's not me complaining, that's just me making it clear that I paid for everything that was installed. So let me just give you the overview first. It was it was January 2025, and I was freezing my nuts off in this van. Well, technically I wasn't, because the Truma heating system was working perfectly. However, it was costing me an absolute fortune in propane. So I decided I'm going to get a diesel heater fitted, because I wanted something that was small, economical, and just took the chill off the van. I didn't need a full heating system, I already have one, but something that could just take the chill off the van and, you know, sort that out, keep it nice and toasty. The second thing was an inverter, because the van actually had a 1500 watt inverter, but for some reason it just wasn't doing what it was supposed to. And I did look at the Multiplus, but when I got a tape measure out, I realised it wouldn't fit. And then I looked at the price and I thought, that's another reason not to get one. Maybe later, you know, we could put an extension on the van, have it hanging outside. I don't know. I'd have to find somewhere to put one. The problem I've got as an end user is probably the same problem everybody out there's got. You know, how do you find somebody that can do the work and do it to a good standard? When I had the battery and the Orion XS fitted, you know, that was done by a company, you know, way out of the way. I don't mind driving, you know, to get work done. So I went on talking about the diesel heater, I actually went on the Autoterm website and searched for diesel heater installation in Yorkshire. Martin was top of the list, Land and Sea. So give him a message. I did message a few others, but there was absolutely no response from any of them. Martin was the first. I think he only took a few hours to respond, actually, and booked her in. One of the other companies got back to me, but days later, and another one 2 weeks later. That just goes to show how busy these guys are, I guess, or maybe they just missed the emails. So we booked it in. We got the diesel heater installed. We did the, or rather, I say we, I use the term royal we, you know, Martin did it. I think I did one of these lights and he did the other one, because they were just a real pain to get on the socket. Which brings me on to the first point, Martin's patience. Now, I've been referred to as a patient guy, but Martin takes this to like a Zen Buddhist level. There was a problem getting the feeder pipe into the fuel tank, into the, I don't know what you'd call it, the gubbins that goes inside the tank, sender unit, whatever you want to call it. He must have spent an hour messing around with this thing, trying to get it in, and, you know, he's done these vans before, couldn't understand why it wouldn't on mine, and I thought, it's a Heimer, what do you expect? They always do everything differently. And other little things like, you know, these lights, they were a real pain. You had to file down little bits to get them to fit properly. And then I got some USB ports off him to fit myself. And I would say on that first point, patience, up there. Zen Buddhist level patience, I would say. And also with me, because there was many times he would say, you know, do you want this like this or like this? And that takes time. You know, it might take 30 minutes to do a job in the book, but it'll take Martin 45, because he wants to consult you, and he'll say, look, I can do it this way, but this way is better and it's to regulations. But you know, at the end of the day, the customer decides. I made a lot of decisions on what was done and how it was done, and everything was done with my consent. Unlike some builders out there that will, you'll just say to them, I want a battery, I want this and I want that, and they'll bang it in and they will completely ignore what I've asked for. A classic example is the van builders in Tenerife. We had a van over there. I actually went around with a Sharpie and I drew on the van, on the furniture, where I want everything. They still got it wrong. The inside of the wardrobe, they put the MPPT there and not there. And I just couldn't understand how they could miss. Oh yeah, but the cable comes down. And I said, so what? You clip it around the... I want it that side for a reason, because there's something else going there, my router. And that's, I think, part of the problem, that some builders think the entire van is their realm. It isn't. As an owner, I'm giving you access to this section of the van and I want you to focus on that and do that. And that's exactly what Martin did. He had the entire bench to himself, although with a 628 amp hour battery in there, it's tight, even with all this space. So you've got the battery, you've got the Renogy inverter, and that's before you start throwing cabling in. So yeah, I'd say definitely the first plus would be patience. The second point I would say is attention to detail, and this shows in the second visit that I made there, because the first visit we had the diesel heater, we had the Renogy inverter fitted and the lights, and got some bits and bobs to do later, but it needed a lot more doing. I needed to upgrade the, I wouldn't say the electrics, because that the battery and the Orion XS was in, but the other things, because I need to get a charge into that big hulk of a battery, and I've only got 150 watts on the roof. So we spec'd out a MPPT solar controller, IP22 battery charger. What else? Oh, Class T fuse and Lynx distributor. The reason why we got the Lynx bar in is because the fuse box that was in it wasn't adequate really for what we wanted, and plus we were adding lots more things. There's no way that tiny box would have taken all these cables. You'd have ended up having to add a box onto it, so you might as well just put a Lynx in and do it properly. And the reason behind the Class T fuse was my decision, because I'd done my research and there was a mega fuse on, which is, you know, adequate, I would say is the word. And Martin previously put an MRBF fuse on, but I said, no, I think I'd prefer to have a Class T, even though it means I'm spending more. I don't care. Safety doesn't have a price really. Make sure everything's okay. Now, there come a couple of points during this work where, for example, we were moving things around and I said, can we move, you know, just to save space and give you some more room for cable management, can we put the Orion over there? And he was fine with that, and he moved it. But while he was moving it, he noticed that there was a poor connection on the Orion XS. A small ferrule had been used, the wrong one, I think. And the bottom line is, it wasn't really a problem. He just fixed it, you know. And the charge state on my battery went from, or the charge from the Orion went from 30 amps to 50, just like that. That's what I mean when I'm talking about attention to detail. The strands in the cable had been crimped badly or stripped back, I don't recall which. We did look at it and I said, just cut it and rejoin it, you know, and that made a huge difference to the input that the Orion was receiving. It was frustrating for me because for weeks I'm driving around in the van and I know I've got a 120 amp alternator and I was getting 30 amps through, and it was irritating because I just knew, the geek in me, the techie in me, knew that there was a reason why it was only getting 30, and it wasn't the settings. I checked all that. It wasn't the connection on the battery, but I didn't check the connection into the Orion XS. If I'd have done that, I could have solved the problem myself. But you just assume when you pay a professional to do a job, it's done professionally. Anyway, moving on. There was other things like the cable management. It was a bit of a mess, and I said, look, can you do something with this? I know Martin normally labels up his wires, but he just didn't have time. But everything's in pairs. It's nice and easy to follow. You go to the links. I've labelled the links up now, but everything's in order. You know, the EBL, then the IP22, then the Orion XS, or that could be the other way around. I've got it labelled up for that reason, so I don't have to remember. Because I want to be able to open the cupboard and just go, oh yeah, that goes to that, that goes to that, and show my girlfriend or anybody else who needs to know. The isolator was changed. I've got it under a cupboard here. That was funny. It doesn't matter which way you turn it. Hang on, I'm going to get it. I found it. When Martin showed me, I couldn't see what was wrong at first, and then he pointed it out. I've got to show you this. So that's the isolator that was on, or what would you call them? DP isolator, double pole isolator, yeah? So I'm going to turn it on, but the battery terminals are pointing the other way. So do I turn it that way? Oh no, I can't turn it that way. So the sticker's the wrong way around. Anyway, a classic case of solving a problem without really getting into a big deal over it. He just said, do you want a Victron on it? And I went, yeah. Just, I want the right kit, that's it. Just get it done. It was fantastic. Other little things came up because it's an old motorhome. You know, even little things like he has to pass a cable through a piece of wood. Instead of just knocking a hole through that wood, he'd call me into the van and say, look, I need to put a hole here, this is why, and explain it to me. And then he gets my consent, because I understand what he's doing. If I come into the van and there's a big hole in a piece of wood with a cable dropped through it, I'm not going to beat my chest and say, oh, you should have consulted me, because I can understand why it was done. But it's nice that I was consulted and that you feel part of the build process, in effect, you know, rather than just handing over your hard-earned cash and your treasured possession, your van, you know. So that for me was priceless. And the third thing I would say would be just the humility. Now, Martin's probably not going to like this, but he's a very humble guy, to the point where people have said I'm patient and I'm humble. I don't think I am, but I look at Martin's humility when he's talking to you and he's doing an installation and he's walking through things. The fact is, he knows what he knows and he knows what he doesn't know. None of us know what we don't know. Or we don't know what we don't know is the right phrase, isn't it? But he will talk intelligently about subjects he's very knowledgeable about, but when it comes to more technical aspects, he'll be honest. He won't wing it. He won't say, oh yeah, I can do that, even if he can. If he can do it, he'll do it. A good example is this. I had a problem with the EBL. It was shorting. I couldn't tell why or how or anything, and I'm driving along and this thing's going snap, crackle and pop. And I spoke to someone about it, got no real conclusion. Mentioned it to Martin and he said, give me 5 minutes. He downloaded a data sheet. Now I've got the instruction manual here, but it doesn't have the wiring schematic, so I couldn't really work out which fuse was for what, because it's all in bloody German as well. And he actually spent time reviewing this and said, unplug this, pull that fuse, tell me if it fixes the problem and come back to me. Didn't charge for that, just helped me out. And lo and behold, pulling the plug and pulling the fuse sorted the problem. So yeah, I'd say definitely there's a big dollop of humility there with Martin. He's a nice guy. But at the end of the day, you're getting a job done, you're paying for it, and you're paying a lot of money for it. Believe me, I'm not saying Martin's expensive. He's actually much cheaper than others. I think the Autoterm heater, um, I didn't really check on the pricing because I just needed it fitted and I wanted it fitting locally. But I'm pretty sure that his pricing was very competitive on that. And with regards to the other things like the Victron kit that was installed, they're all pretty much standard pricing anyway. So that helps. Hmm. Can't be a good cup of tea. So in conclusion, um, me personally, I would recommend Martin all day long. Even if you're going to do the work yourself, because you can do it, take it there, pay him a few quid for his time, obviously, and he will tell you if you've missed anything. And more importantly than that, he will save you time and hassle. Um, you know, just recommending the right cables, the right equipment, the right setup, everything. There was many things I wanted to do that he said, no, 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 you can't do that. It's against regulations or it's not safe, etc. But he'd explain why as well. Um, and I'd definitely recommend him if you're wanting an Autoterm heater or an electrical system, or as in my case, electrical upgrades. Um, maybe not if you've got a Heimer. Well, maybe if you've got a Heimer, because he's learned a lot from working on mine. These things are absolute headaches. You just do not touch the EBL. Don't think about it. The previous owner or the owner before must have had a fetish for black tape, because there are tape joints, or there were tape joints all over this van. So that's my kind of summary, how I feel about Land and Sea. Obviously, I'm a bit of a fanboy, a little bit, you know. I'm a happy bunny. The fact that I'm getting 20 extra amps when I'm driving down the road, come on, that's fantastic. You know, you just you can't pay for that. It's just it's phenomenal. So I'm a happy bunny, and hopefully there'll be more of you to follow.